Cool. Well, good. Good to see all of you. So I have no agenda. This is the Ask Me Anything, right? Yeah. I have no agenda whatsoever other than just to help you with whatever's on your mind, anything you've been curious to ask. It's kind of a nicer, as I figured it would be, smaller room. If you're wondering, if your question's why am I wearing these boots, it's just because I need to spend hours in them to make sure I like them. That's it. That's the whole story. So go ahead.
I'm really upset you just answered that. Curiosity would have been great for the next hour.
So what's on your mind?
Ask him. That was a good question you asked me earlier.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but
So I have a representing seller, and the buyer agent is representing himself, and he sent a request for repairs in. And I know that my seller is liking to do repairs by himself. Like, I'm thinking he's probably going to want to do the repairs. I want to make sure that if we sign off, I just want to make sure that if we sign off on it, like, okay, we'll do the repairs, then he releases the contingency. I've never had, usually we just give a credit, and then, we agree and release the contingency. So I just wanted to make sure, I was asking Brian, if he says, okay, we'll do the repairs,
Then you release the
then
contingencies.
release the contingency.
So I think your question is just, you have a repair negotiation,
Yes.
and you want to make sure that if you agree to the repairs, that they'll release contingencies?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But what's your concern? That's how it works.
The agent was telling us something differently.
Yeah, like the other agent doesn't really know what he's doing. He hasn't done the sewer. In the request for repairs, he said that he wanted us to do a sewer scope. I'm like, okay, well, when are you going to schedule that? He goes, well, I'm only going to schedule that after you respond that see what your sellers are going to do about the rest of the repairs. And I just have to email him back, well, then what if you come back with the sewer repairs that needs it? Am I missing something? Like, that's all.
And I don't think, I'm not going to have the ability to restate a question. To restate a question like this. But basically, if you're watching the video, I guess you're saying that he's not requesting all the repairs that are needed now. He's going to do more inspections later, blah, blah, blah. Where are you in the contingency period? How many more days does he have?
3 days left on the inspection.
So if I would make it very clear to him that, listen, you can do whatever you want to do as far as inspections. You've had how many days?
6.
So it's a short inspection period.
Yeah.
You negotiated that you could do all of your inspections in 9 days. Okay? You have, if you're going to do this other inspection, it better be taking place in that time frame. You can do it. We're happy to have you do it. We have nothing to hide. You should go do it. But if you're going to do it X amount of days from now, we will absolutely say no to the request, even if there's something wrong. So, do you have backup offers?
No. No. We had other offers. This is the only one. We had multiple offers. This is the only one that stood. And
So this is your only real offer.
yeah, and he said if we're not going to do the repairs, he's going to cancel.
But you're not saying you won't do the repairs.
No. I just need to know what they're going to be. We don't need.
Regardless of the sewers,
I believe we'll do them.
regardless of what's up with the sewer, it's its own issue.
Right.
Is there would the answer to the sewer change anything you're going to respond to on what he's already asked for?
Probably not.
So just respond.
Okay.
Why not? It's not normal. Just respond. Don't be the reason there's a delay.
Not wanting to do. That's what I was trying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was trying to get.
If it would somehow impact the answer to the other thing, then you can't respond because now you have a half a response, but these seem to be really unrelated.
That's a good way to put it. Separate them. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Cool. And by the way, you could ask me anything like that. You could ask me something about any topic, about anything, in or outside the business.
I have a hypothetical. If I have a buyer who can't or won't or didn't have the ability to pay the closing costs for some reason, and that's part of the negotiation there, and the seller said they can't, is it even ethical to ask the seller to raise their price a little more, get a few dollars at the other end and pay the closing costs? Is that something that's ever done?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so if my client's willing to pay $5,000, or the seller making $500,000
Right.
on the sale is the same as the seller making $505,000 minus $5,000, and you'll see that done a lot. Absolutely. Yeah, so you could do that.
I didn't know if that
You-
or not. That's part of it. That's part of it. Okay.
Are you facing that?
No, it's just something I was just looking at the other day and was thinking, if I had a situation like that, is that possible to do?
Oh, yeah.
something like that?
Absolutely. In fact, Open Door made an entire multi-billion-dollar public company out of offering $600,000 and then going in and saying like, hey, but you're going to give me a credit of $50,000. So they were basically buying the home for $550. They were creating a comp of 6. And then they'd go back and resell it, say for 6. Buyer says, hey, that deal makes sense. Now that's extreme. What you're talking about happens probably 100 times a day in San Diego alone. Okay. Cool. What else? What's going on?
Here's a market question. So we had 9 or 10 open houses this weekend, and it seems like from the feedback we got, most of them were very low traffic compared to even just last weekend,
This weekends were low.
right?
Was there anything about the homes that would be like, yeah, it makes sense. These all.
I don't know. I mean, nothing.
There are
was
some
just-
that are more remote than others. I think that right now we're in a market where we're still like pricing out of where we should, out of bounds of where we should be. And the stuff that's positioned better is just getting a lot of action.
Okay, so it's coming down to pricing.
So was there anything about these houses that made him? Yeah.
Okay.
Couple things. One thing, we did 2 houses this weekend where they were open Saturday and then Sunday. Both had a higher Saturday count,
Oh
lower
yeah,
Sunday
that's
count.
worth noting too.
We had a Vista open house that was open previous to this weekend, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit further out, a little less traffic
Rural.
with that,
Okay.
and that would be for the open houses right there.
San Diego priced it luxury at 6, 7. Had 10 groups. That's phenomenal. And all of them were legit buyers.
Yeah, for that price.
Not like looky-loos, like real buyers. And Babcock, which was a relaunch position correctly, had about 25.
Yeah, I heard that one, but the rest of them
So-
seemed kind of low. But okay, I was just asking. Was that a couple of
That's
listings?
not Babcock, so that's another story.
See what the market was, if it somehow changed.
I don't think so. I don't think so. What's going on?
Got a question.
Yeah.
Do you know what's the first lien HELOC, and how can a home buyer use it for their advantage?
Yeah. A first lien HELOC is the same thing as a HELOC, except for it just basically means you're doing it on a property that's owned free and clear. And you know what a HELOC is?
Yeah, home equity line of credit.
Okay, so I own a property that's worth $1 million. I don't have a loan on it. I have $1 million worth of equity. The bank gives me a line of credit for, they'd probably give me a line of credit for $700,000 on that. And I'm not making any payments unless I draw on the money, right? Are you with me or no? So if I use 100,000 of the 700, now I've got payments to make on the 100,000, typically interest only. And from a term perspective, could have I don't know. I don't know exactly how long they write those terms for, or because some will be like, you could have a 2-year payoff on it. Others, they'll renew it every 2 years. Others, they just got to be making your payments, and so long as you do, you're good. So the only thing that makes it a first lien HELOC is that there's no other lien. Okay, I had a HELOC on my property, my previous property. It was not a first lien HELOC, it was a HELOC. It's the exact same thing, except for I owed $750,000. My HELOC was for $350,000 in second position. Right, but I had, because of how much more equity I still had, I had like another, let's say it was worth $1.5 million. So the bank only had exposure up to 1.1, which they decided, hey, that's good. We've got a $400,000 cushion. We feel good about it.
Could you
Yeah.
take out another HELOC, even though there's already one existing, the mortgage is paid off?
You can. I don't know who does. I've never heard of someone putting a third on a property, unless it's like a private investor. But I don't know what bank would put a third position lien on a property. But there's no law you couldn't. It's just I've never seen it. Unless you brought it to someone like me and it's like, hey Dan, well, the home's worth 1.5. There's only 1.1 of exposure on it. I'll give you, if you could please give me 100,000, I'll pay you a point and 10% or 12% interest, and I'll pay it off within a year, within 6 months. And I might say, okay, now the home is exposed up to 1.2, but it's definitely worth 1.5. I love the neighborhood. Getting a couple points up front, 12% interest. Worst case, I foreclose on you. And then I own a house in a place I really like. Because the issue is that when I foreclose on you, if I don't have the funds to pay the $350 off and the $750 off, then I don't even have the ability to take over the property. So I need to pay off all the other lien holders so that I can own the house. So I've got to be comfortable with the fact I'm going to have $1.2 million out on this 1.5 property. Okay. What else? What's happening? What's going on in your business, in your life?
You just came back
Personal.
from Vegas for a
Yeah.
mastermind.
Yeah.
Anything worth sharing with us that you're hearing from others internationally, around the country, just in general?
Yeah. I came back from a couple of different events. Yellow letters seem to be like one of the big things that people are just doing that's really, really working for them across the country, and we're gonna roll them back out, and we'll give you guys like the resource, playbook, et cetera, to use them yourself. Yellow Letters Complete is where you'd send those off from. And basically, it's just a really simple letter. It kind of has the same, like, hey, I've got a buyer for your home message on it. I have a script that I'll share with everybody if like that you would want to use on the Buyer Concierge product from Celebrity Agent or on these. These you would just go straight to them and order them if you want to. Celebrity Agent, because you have to pay for a $15,000 license, we'll have those available on our agent services site. But people are like, yeah, like you're being a complete idiot if you're not running these, was the general vibe, was the consensus. So we're being idiots, I guess, because. So yeah, we're gonna kick those back up. We are pushing all of our traffic to Fellow from like everywhere. And you guys we'll be rolling out. You guys don't have your own Fellow accounts yet, right? Okay. And there's the big training on Wednesday. You guys aware of that?
No.
You definitely want to be at that.
It's on
It's on Thursday. Can you get an email out about that specifically? Because we have Ryan Young, the owner of Fellow, coming in to do it for us. It's really important that you understand how to use the tool. But what the company will do, you should do the same thing. I mean, the company's just me. Like what I'm going to do with my leads, what you probably ought to do with your leads, is I'm pushing as much traffic through Fellow as I possibly can, and then I'm getting all of them one of these yellow letters. Is what we'll be doing with those. And also we'll be inviting them to an in-person workshop and all kinds of stuff. And you guys can leverage the in-person workshop, invite people. I'll be holding it. We'll start those in June, home selling workshop every month that takes place. And you can bring your sphere or whatever, clients, et cetera. I'll do the presentation, but you could just leverage the fact that the thing's gonna happen. But that was kind of from like the rest of the conversation was about how do you, interviewing agents and bringing them on and setting the right expectation and just all kinds of other stuff. But marketing-wise, it was a really simple thing, but people are having a huge amount of success with it. There was someone there locally, a local person who's taken 50 listings with it in the last 3 years. Now I have to figure out how many was that person mailing and so on, so who knows. But that would be basically it. So you'll get that resource from us. We'll show you exactly what we're doing. We'll give you the contact and you can deploy them. What else? No questions, nothing? You came to the Ask Me Anything. Just voyeurs? Yeah, go ahead. Let's come here.
I'm just curious how you got into real estate.
I got in 2005, so 18 years ago. I had graduated college in 2004, became a financial accountant at an aerospace company in LA called BAE Systems. They're international, but that's like their LA location. And I didn't like what I was doing whatsoever. 7 months in, I quit. I went and opened a manufacturing textile plant, which is the business my dad had always been in, with him in Tijuana. Really did not like going to Tijuana. I hated it. It's one of the worst places probably that's ever been created. In the it is really horrible, but it's not as, but it's really nice. It's actually really, really nice when you compare it to some places, like Juarez. So it's super nice compared to Juarez, but it's really horrible compared to everywhere else. And when I didn't like going, okay? And my dad was gonna sell a house that he was building in Rancho Pacifica. And he had never done anything like that. And it was like 2005. So timing was just a really good timing thing. And I got licensed to help do that because selling homes was really easy. It was really easy. It was like 2001, like super easy. Maybe easier, actually. Because in 2001, it was still like homes were just flying off the shelves with like 38 offers in 1 minute. 2005 was easier. And so I got licensed, I sold it. I enjoyed the process, ended up like, that other industry was actually falling apart because of just all kinds of broader macro issues with China and the textile industry and pricing. And so it was just, that got shut down 7 months later and I just went to real estate full time. But I spent like probably 3 to 4 years selling like 4, 5, 6 homes a year. Not really knowing, I didn't understand what business I was in whatsoever. I had no idea. I wasn't in an environment anywhere remotely to anything you guys are experiencing. But that's how I got in. And then some years later, especially through the Great Recession, I started to actually have to figure out what is this thing that I'm doing here? Because all the friends and family business quickly went away, all the easy business went away. And that was good. It was painful at the time, really painful at the time. I started selling vodka door to door in 2009. 2008, 2009, I was selling vodka door to door to bars. Yeah. I started selling debt settlement leads. Yeah. But the debt settlement experience helped me, helped open my eyes to this just idea of creating leads and selling a lead and like the value of having a name, number, email, and so on. And it's kind of where it all came from, I suppose. Yeah, that's how I got in. It's an industry full of people that, probably a lot of you. It's an industry full of people that didn't like what they were previously doing. And then had a favorite TV show. And so that's the problem, which you should turn into your benefit, because there's it's a tiny 1% of 1% of San Diego that's going to even sit and spend time trying to learn anything, exposing themselves to anything like this. How amateur everyone is. It sucks because your number one task is to prove to the consumer you're not an amateur. As opposed to if you were like a doctor, surgeon, which by the way, we can make more money than they can. But if you're a doctor or surgeon, you're immediately legit. And here you have to first prove that, hey, I'm not just one of these random knuckleheads. And so it's annoying to have to go through that, but once you prove that, then you're kind of it's a great runway from that point forward. Right, so that's
What was your turning point? Going from those things to making this a real
I went to an event at the Hotel Del that was put on by a marketing company that was located here. And you guys know who Greg Newman is? No one? So Greg Newman he's still a very big producer, but he was one of the top producers in the country. Definitely a legend in San Diego. Just one of the king, godfathers of San Diego real estate for sure. And he was speaking at this thing in a breakout session that I went to, and I remember him just saying, I'd sell 6-7 homes a year, and everyone was telling me I was doing a good job. And so I was like, oh, cool, I'm doing a good job. I go to this thing, and he's just straightforward, brash, not impolite by any means, but doesn't know why he should bullshit you that 5-6 homes is great, because it's not. And he says something to the effect of, listen, I don't know what you're doing if you're not selling at least 24 homes a year, 2 homes a month. If you're not doing that, which by the way means you're failing 28 days out of the month, winning twice. If you're not doing at least that, then what the hell are you doing? And that was a turning point for me, just to even start. I remember thinking 24 homes in a year? I didn't even think that was possible. I didn't know that was a thing. I was in an office in Rancho Santa Fe where people sell nothing. They sell 7 homes all year and they think they're rock stars. Okay, so I didn't even think that was a thing. And I mean, look, intuitively, realistically, I knew 24 was possible, but I thought that was the top person. Okay, I'm what do you mean you're not even, everyone should sell 24 homes? But then I started to then discover and dig and study and try to figure out who's selling that much, and started to find myself in these little Facebook groups and different places. And I remember the first time I found out about somebody that sold 100 homes, and it just blew my mind. I could not comprehend how that was possible. And then when I found out about people selling 200 homes, 400 homes, 500 homes, 1,000 wasn't a conversation back then, even though now I have multiple friends that do. But that was a huge turning point, just to hear him say that. And thank God. See, the issue is a lot of see if I remember this. Here, grab something. I just need this. Oh, here we go. Thought this was cool to just share with you. Bet I have to find it. All right, one more place I can look. All right, well, I can't seem to find the thing I wanted to share with you. Data, bring dollar LMA, core value, best stories, vision story. Here it was in this session. Well, I forget what it was, but I'll share with you basically what I was trying to find. It's like everyone else had always been really nice, and you're all really nice to each other. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're doing good. Do you know the guy's doing shit? They go, oh, you're doing good. Hey, what's up, man? It's nice to see you. You're being really nice when you really should be saying, where the hell were you this morning? And not where the hell were you this morning. It's actually the reason you're saying where the hell were you this morning is because that same person had just told you a day ago that their goal was to do X, Y, or Z and what it would mean to their life. And then they're doing the exact opposite. That's not going to get them there. But you're just being nice. And so essentially, it was this, hopefully I can find it somewhere, but it was this, forget what it was, but it was basically like this thing where they left off the first letter of every word. Enough. I remember this one. So it was like the E's not there. Just said that. And it was basically this thing that was like, hey, what's missing here? And it's that you're being nice, and then the words were essentially like not interested enough to actually care to say the truth to the person, something, but way smoother, right? Because it would actually create this word. I'll have to find that. I don't know what happened to it. So anyway, it was great that he was not very nice, and instead of being nice, he was actually someone that cared to tell us what we had to hear.
Half the people probably left, and some people took it to heart.
Did you ever tell him that?
Mm-hmm. I called him in 2018, I think, and told him that. That conference was probably in 2009 or 2010. Yeah, seeing if I find it here.
Can I use that when I'm sending him an offer? Let him know that he's gonna get closer to 24, 30.
With this offer,
That is one time.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd remember saying it. But yeah, you sure can. What should they be? This is my own brainstorm. 6 scorecard fundamentals, truth.
video. I care.
In my social media content.
Expenses.
Start off with saying, you suck. I just want you, I care.
Yeah, there's another really good concept. It's like we talk about being open and honest. A lot of teams talk about being open and honest. an open and honest is like a two-headed spear. Is anyone familiar with this analogy? You are?
Where there's two outcomes. One is the correct outcome or the one that you want, and the other one isn't. And so,
Maybe, and maybe that's, well, it's not what I'm referring to, but that might be like, there might be a lot of truth in that too. This is about, like, you're asking people to be open and honest. We need to be open and honest, right? But with that also, it's like, it's like if I'm holding the spear, it's leaning against my chest, it's leaning against Eric's, and I'm going to ask him to be, first of all, open and honest is not the same thing. He needs to be open to my honesty. I need to be willing to be honest. But when I'm being honest, and I'm sharing some feedback that Eric really needs, so I need to do it with kindness, right? But I do need to do it honestly. And it's his job, though, to be open, too, though, because when I'm giving him this feedback, if all of a sudden, well, he just can't handle it, he's going to start to push back on me, and that hurts, because it's a two-sided spear, so I'm like, oh, that kind of hurt. So now he's trained me to not be so honest, right? Now he's trained me, hey, like, you probably don't want to be too honest with me, because if you do, I'm going to push back on you and I'll hurt you. And it didn't have to hurt him. He just needed to be willing to, like, move back, right, as I was saying it. So it's just like this, kind of that give and take. It's a good, I don't know, it's a good reminder to be, that we do owe each other, like, to be open, to be genuinely open. And I ask for it all the time. I rarely get it. I really rarely get it. Where people just, oh, it was really good. They're like, I would like more, I'd like more, Greg Newman's.
You ask, like, how was that? Or for a meeting, like, how was the meeting? Oh, yeah, it was great, yeah.
Yeah.
When you really want to know, when we could have done this better, that better, or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I like kindness and compliments too. If it's accurate. It was really good. This was awesome. This was great. This really hit home. I think the group didn't quite understand this piece. I just left John Cheplack's house. Said, hey man, it was great. I don't know what you did in Baton Rouge because I wasn't there, but people said this was even better and that was really good and that this was even better than that. People are super happy. The only thing I heard was Steve Hawks could have gone an hour shorter. He could have gone an hour shorter because the guy went for like 2 hours and he wasn't supposed to. So anyway, this guy could have gone an hour shorter and maybe given us some nuggets on like what to do with the information he was giving us. And the only other thing I heard, but I think it was more like in jest and like almost endearingly because everyone here loves you, is people just making jokes about how you're going to hand everything over. We're there for mastermind. He's like, hey, I'm going to hand this over to you guys. It's not going to be me up here. It's going to be you all sharing with each other. But like 4 hours later, no one had talked yet. But I shared that with him. But no one was surprised. Like we've all been his clients. We all know exactly that's how it's going to be. And we show up anyway because we like it. But that was it. So I gave him honest feedback. Versus everyone else would just have said, hey, that was really great. So it was more valuable to him. So. All right, what else?
in a similar vein,
He had his hand up previously. Go ahead.
alright, so, I was just wondering, I just want your opinion, like, from an investor perspective. So like, my mom, she paid off her mortgage, right? She has a HELOC. And then, is that okay to ask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright, so, paid off her mortgage, has a HELOC. And what she wants to do is that, she wants a newer home, bigger space, right, the whole 9 yards. But she don't want to sell her home. So then I was wondering, like, is there other loan that can maybe potentially
How much is her home worth?
There's actually a home selling near my neighborhood, and they're asking 490,000.
But I have no idea where she lives. Does she live in your neighborhood?
Yeah,
Okay, so how much is her home worth?
probably around there too, 480 grand.
Okay.
At least.
What does she owe?
90 grand.
80?
90.
90? Okay. So you could probably get somebody to give her, it's worth 480 minus 90, 6 times. Whoops, 480 times 0.6, 90. You could probably get 200 grand without selling the house. By the way, I would do that loan.
Take like another HELOC, right?
No,
Or
a HELOC is an equity. It's a line of credit.
yeah.
I would do a second for 200,000. I, being representative of like investors, would give her a loan for 200,000. She'd go use the 200,000 to go buy wherever. Can she buy what she needs with 200,000? So, you can do that loan for sure.
I just wanted to like.
Link Capital is this lending business. It's literally upstairs.
Yeah.
That's where Elizabeth works.
Yeah.
Link Capital would do that loan.
I just want to like make sure like if there's anything I'm missing or like if it makes sense, is this something can be done? Is want to be like sure like it's an option, right? To have.
She would now owe 290 on the house. She would owe 290 on the house. Would 200 be enough to buy this other property for cash?
For cash? Probably not. Maybe as a down payment.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Like
I don't know what the bank. Does she have income?
yeah.
Okay, so perhaps depending on her income, maybe the bank would allow. The only question mark is, will she get a loan that she needs on the new house? That's the question mark.
Yeah.
But can she get 200,000 with a lien against the current house? Definitely. Okay. Where's the current house?
Where is it? Like located? It's in National City.
Okay. Cool. Vincent.
Basically, if you were to start over, like from scratch, what would you do differently building a business?
I wouldn't do that much differently once I actually started doing things. But I spent 3 or so years not doing things, not getting into a learning environment, not educating myself, having an extremely narrow view of what real estate was. So I would have just, I would have pursued those areas much faster. Like I just started the Link Capital business, the lending business. Which is private lending, right? Like different from Jamie's business. I just started that, and the first thing I did was I joined a mastermind called like Hard Money Mastermind. That's what it's called. So literally, that's the first thing I did before I had anything at all in there. So I would just do that. I would have done that a lot sooner. Things I feel like I could have been late to.
Any brokerages?
No.
Do's and don'ts? Skipped over one in there, would have gone to Keller Williams.
I mean, maybe. If I was pursuing a more learning-based environment, I would have probably found that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think like just little things I might have been late to. I would have,
Selling partner, or not
You know, if I could do, like, I would actually maybe, possibly. I mean, it worked out really, really well. So it's hard to say, right? But I would have probably have taken on showing agents, like Brian said. I brought Brian on, and like that has a much higher cost than a showing partner would have. I could have probably have paid less than half, and you know, I would have maybe done that before going like full-blown agent. But I don't know. That one's I'm grasping for straws at that, because when I gave up the entire buyer side of the business, it forced me to go figure out how to get listings, and I'm glad I was forced. So.
And you needed that.
Hmm?
You needed that, like that propelled you to really dig into the listing side now.
Well, I lost a huge amount of my income overnight.
So you had to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Market share too.
so yeah, I don't know, man. I think honestly, it's like it's really just what I exposed myself to. I spent years just exposed to like people in Rancho Santa Fe going to the country club and bumping into somebody, and then golfing with them a bunch, and then selling them a house. Which you could do that if it sounds awesome to you. I knew that wasn't me. I didn't think that would scale well. And then I remember it just I didn't want that at all. At all. Like, I like selling homes to people I don't know and will never speak to again. The friends and family stuff's great too. But like, I remember the first wedding that I went to, like in our community, where I was there and not giving, and like halfway through the wedding, I'm like, oh wait, like I haven't been walking around trying to like shake people's hands and like figure out who's gonna like sell a house, and like I just found out that person actually just bought one, and I don't give a damn, like at all. I just do not care. That was a good feeling.
Instead of being like, why didn't I get that business?
I was just at the wedding. Yeah. I mean, and look, I recognize like if you're at that same wedding, like most of you like have to go worry about that. And I did too. You'll have to worry about that until you do one of two things. Either you're really locked and loaded with our company leads, or, and it can be an or and, with whatever degree of balance, you also have like this additional source of business coming in. But some people here will only do business with the people they bump into from their like friends and family, which makes like, I don't want anything to get misinterpreted here. You should absolutely go dominate that business. And I did, and I still do business with those people today. And do I want to lose that business? Hell no, I want it to grow. But I don't want to be dependent on it, that like that's all I have.
Right, you don't want to be the guy at the wedding that, oh boy, here comes Dan, he's gonna try to sell me a house.
Right. Yeah, which interestingly enough, like helps you sell more houses.
Sometimes the less you care about something, or not, that's probably not the right way, but when you focus on other things, sometimes those things just happen. People see your success and they just want to do business with you, rather than you always pursuing them all the time.
Yeah, and again, I say this really delicately because some people should, most everyone should be very much pursuing that. By the way, we do. Well, we rent out movie theaters and invite them. Like I said, we do plenty of that. It's just a matter of, I wish, how did I get it to answering this? I just wish I would have understood how, like, it goes back to the first answer I gave you, just to get exposed to more sooner. I wish I had found expireds and FSBOs sooner. I really wish I'd found expireds and FSBOs sooner. I started finally making those calls in like 2009, 4 years in. I wish I'd found those sooner. And as I sold homes to those people, I started funding my farm and started funding my past client experience and repeat business. And like, I wish I'd found those sooner. I wish I'd studied direct response marketing sooner. People like Dan Kennedy, copywriting, much sooner. Yeah, and most people, like at the highest levels, still have never, which would make you think it's not important. That's a little misstated. Most people at like a high level, like, oh, that person sells a bunch of homes, still have never. You get to like, hey, there's the like 1% of 1%, they all have. Yeah, so I'd go study copywriting. I'd go study direct response and copywriting. In today's world, I would really want to know, like, and I wish I knew this sooner. It would be like simple, like lead magnet, web, just like a simple funnel structure for lead generation. I'd be studying how to build funnels. What's the call to action that gets people that creates response, that gets them to a landing page, that gets them to give me their information in exchange for something of value, that now creates a communication experience with them. And in KV Core, you can do all of that. With Fellow, you could do a ton of that. And then you have the best follow-up system that exists, which is Follow Up Boss, to then continue your communication path with them. So, what else? Where are we at? Got like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Do you do flipping?
Yeah.
So how do you know if it's worth it after, like when it's time to sell it? Like do you use any calculator? Like the market is like up and down these days.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know if it's worth it to invest in the house for the?
I mean, so here. This is the kind of thing where I'll watch this video in like 5 years and be like, what was I doing? Why didn't I take the boots off? Like, well, you don't, it's not when you're finished if you're going to decide if it's worth it, right? It's, you see a property and that property is a home that should sell for, in what we call ARV, after repair value of $1 million. What are we buying it for? Okay, so imagine you're going to buy it for $850. Does it need repairs, this house? It's a flip. It needs repairs? What's the size of this house? $1,500 million house? Is that accurate? Are there $1 million 1,500 in La Jolla? I'm going to say, how much is this renovation? So look, you have to know this. What's the reno cost, okay? And I'd say probably for this 1,500 square foot house, probably your renovation cost is 80 grand. Okay? So if this is minus 80,000, and you have a purchase of 850, I could already, by the way, tell you I would not do this deal. I'd pass. Because what's going to happen? You sell for $1 million, but you have closing costs. So you're going to pay a commission to them, like to the buyer's agent, you're going to pay title fees, et cetera. So you're probably going to have, let's just say that you're going to pay out 2%, 2.5%, 3.5%. I'm going to calculate 3.5% to 4% on closing costs. Okay, so minus closing costs. So here are closing costs. I'd say you're going to have like $40,000 worth of that. It might be 35, maybe 30. I'm going to just say 40. And so that's a minus. Now you have 960. You have a reno of 80. So minus 80. This is now 840, I believe. Yes? No. Oh, what am I saying? 880. You have hard money, you have borrowing costs, carrying costs. This was a 3-month project, which is fast. You probably have $20,000 worth, maybe $25,000, okay? So carrying costs minus 25,000 is 880, 860, 855. What else? Anything else we're missing? You had some repairs that we haven't thought about, some little junk that's going to show up, whatever. Even some, we already did our selling closing costs. That's, minus $5,000 of randomness. That's $850. You bought it for $850. You can't do this deal. You'd probably do this deal at $750, maybe $775. So the way you know is just to figure out, you have to go comp the property that you believe it will be when you're done and figure out what that property's worth. Back all this out. And here's what's interesting too is like if you're showing them, let's look at the seller's perspective. Hey, but this house is worth $1 million. Okay, yeah, we agree with you. It's worth $1 million. Okay? So it's worth the commissions, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and the closing costs, by the time you're done with everything, would probably be, I'm going to use a rounder number like 5%, even 6%. I'm going to do another 1% for closing costs. You can have $60,000 to $70,000. Just say you have $60,000 worth of closing costs. So minus 60. Okay? A lot of times you'd be talking at someone's home like this, and they're like, yeah, this is in disrepair. You're like, I know. What do you think it would cost to fix all of this? The roof, whatsoever. And they're going to actually say, like, we talk to a contractor, sometimes they'll even say, we believe it's going to be $100,000. Okay. Minus $100,000. And there's always little repairs and so on, so you need a little bit of a cushion, because I'm helping them see it from the investor standpoint. So there would be all of that. 170, so that's 830. And so we'd say, hey, okay, so now it's at 830,000. So this is what you'd probably net if you sold the home for $1 million. Now, do you have $100,000 to do the repairs? No? Okay, well, you might be able to borrow it, but that'll probably cost you $30,000 in fees. This is $800. Do you have the time and the 60 days or 90 days for renovation and the blah, 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 blah? Okay. Or you could just sell it right now for cash, $770. What would you like to do? It's a $30,000 problem. That'll earn you maybe $75,000. And I use $770 if I wanted to secure the deal for sure. Maybe that max convenience is worth, And here's your decision. We can go through all this. I'd love to do it. This is literally what my career is all about. I'd love to go do that. I also have an investor called Link Capital that would actually close on the property within when do you want to close, make it max convenience. Oh, all this shit in the house that you had here, and it's like messy and clutter, leave it behind. Max convenience. I was just talking to Mark Gelman in St. Louis. He just bought an $850,000 home for $650,000. But except for that house, he's not going to touch it. That house doesn't need renovations. He's going to close on the home, put it on the market. Oh, excuse me. Those are not the numbers. They're actually better. It's a $650,000 house that he's buying for $450,000. All he's going to do is literally put it back on the market. Max convenience. They needed like an 8-month escrow. They needed to be able to show a secured contract with a deposit that's been sent through so they can make their move to wherever they're going. So This is there's a really not like this 750 is more realistic than you can imagine for someone to say yes to that. Like really realistic for someone to say yes to that. Because this person is moving out of state to a $300,000 home that they're buying cash. They want to do it right now. They also like have a HELOC that they funded some lifestyle with 2 years ago at 3% interest, and that is now 6 or 7% interest, and they're just squeezed, and life's not that fun. So they'll take 750, which is only 50,000 less than they would get if they went through the trouble of doing all of that, if they had the resources to do all of that. So that's how you go to a flip opportunity. And now, if it was your lead, your thing, your deal, you don't have to bring it to Lincoln Capital, by the way. If it's your thing, maybe you're a flipper. Great. Think you can make $100,000. If it was a company lead, you have to go to Linked first. Okay? But if it was a company lead, you're at a listing. You might have taken home 3, 30, 20. You might have taken home $6,000 because it was a company listing, depending on what the commission was, right? And you could probably, I'm not doing the math exactly right now, but you'd probably double the earnings by having identified this and have the easiest escrow of your life. Like Eric had one, and it was about to be like, all right, how am I going to help this lady sell this mess? Or we closed escrow with no hassle, no inspections, no appraisals, just easy. Okay? So you want to be aware of all that. If it was yours and you're like, well, I'd love to make the 100, except for I don't have the rest of it, and like I need to partner with someone, cool. There's partners up here, there's people, that's a different arrangement. There you're more in charge. It's like, hey, I brought this up, then here's what I'm making available. Are you interested? No, but I know who is interested. Or yes, or whatever. Right? If it was from your personal business. You door knocked it, whatever. All right. I hope that was of some value in some place, somewhere for you. Yeah.